This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Call the meeting to order. Planning Commission, Tuesday, November 12th. Looks like we have full board here. Is there a motion to, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are not.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to accept it as it is.
Second.
Discussion. I have one discussion on the Berg with the PUD for the reduced front yard setback. Is that going to get memorialized in anything like in a developer's agreement or? Okay. Okay, good.
Are your minutes or agenda?
Pardon me?
Agenda or minutes?
Sorry. It's been one of those days. Agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carries 700. Now on to the minutes from the last meeting. Any issues there?
Typo on my name in item 1.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
Stieber. Very German.
I was not in attendance at the meeting, so I can't particularly comment on it, but the item 3B, the second sentence just reads a little odd. There was a clarification that driveways would come on out 9th Street. So I don't know. Just
On 2.
Classic double preposition. Or
on 2.
I move we approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, carries 7 of us. 6, 7, 0. Oh, Joan's not here yet. Is Joan coming?
So I'm not sure.
600, sorry. Let's see. We could, before I open the public hearing at 5:35, if you think you can filibuster for 2 minutes, Kurt, on explaining where we're at?
So today will be a public hearing for approving the Nielsen's drive-through. Well, not approving the drive-through, but rezoning the land that Nielsen's own for their drive-through. That land, those 2 parcels are currently zoned residential 3. If we approve it today, it would be moved to commercial 1A, like the grocery store is, due to the fact that it's an extension of the business. The driveway, you can see in your packet, was approved by the county. There will be screening placed on the west side for cars. Obviously, their headlights will be going in there. And the city will place stop sign in the appropriate spot. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I missed on that. Yeah. If there's anything else I missed, please let me know.
Curious if they said how they're going to handle semis when they're unloading semis there.
No, that's all. Hopefully it won't run over people. That's my first thought.
What if there's one there and, I know we're getting ahead of opening public hearing, but what if there is one there and I'm driving through, will they just shut the window down for a few minutes, do you think? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Okay.
If you're looking for answers.
Well, maybe I'll just, it's 5:35, I'll just open the public hearing. And then before, if anybody has questions, they should identify themselves and, or comments. And sure, so now that the hearing's open, any question or any response to that at all?
To your question.
Yes, please.
So if we have a semi there.
Yeah.
Thank you. If we have a semi there, you can still get around the semi as you go through. We'll have delineators up along the county road there as well. Depending on, we have different size semis that come in. If it's too big, we will shut it down. But if it's one that's like a shorter bed or whatever, you can still go in front of it. You know, obviously it's parked. Go along, follow the line and go through the whole deal. So.
Anybody else have questions, comments?
My question, if there is no semis there.
State your name and this and speaking.
Fred Rash, if there is no semis there, what'll keep them from turning out onto the county road then?
There's those delineators I was talking about. They're like these, they're not permanent posts, but they're like things you see on the center of the highways.
Yep, okay,
You'd have to run one of those over to
okay.
get through there.
I do it. Okay, and then the only other question I had is, the purpose of the public hearing is to get input from whatever. Is this a norm that we do a public hearing after the project is done?
Or rezoning
So they,
from residential to commercial because of the extension of this driveway is essentially an
Right.
extension of a commercial use. So
yeah, but rezoning, does that usually come after the project is done? You know what I'm saying?
Ideally, no.
yeah, right. No, this was.
But normally it doesn't. Normally the rezoning should come before the project is done. Okay.
Trying to make it work.
And then the other question I had, why wouldn't we rezone it? Like C1A does not allow a drive-through, but C2 does. So why wouldn't we rezone it to a C2 then?
C1A, we had variance passed several months ago to allow a drive-through through C1A.
Right, that was a variance because it didn't allow a drive-through.
Correct.
So but what I'm saying, why don't we rezone it to allow the drive-through then? Because I'm just,
I don't know.
why you wouldn't rezone it to, so
I don't know if there's.
it works without getting,
Two allows a drive-through maybe? There's commercial two down here.
C2 says a
I
drive.
don't remember, this is kind of long progression. Do you have any recollection, Brian?
I remember what we discussed there, why we didn't go that route. I think the whole store fits in the C1A. And then I know there was discussion about the drive-through is not facing any residential, something along those lines, I believe. That's the drive-through window itself. The discussion about this driveway that's not the drive-through. The drive-through window was already allowed in the C1A. This is a driveway. It's used for the drive-through, of course, but
Allowed as an accessory use. The actual window itself. I mean, that was water under the bridge that was dealt with previously, right?
yes. Yep, so I don't remember that whole discussion on that. But I can answer the question about, so oftentimes in a project like this, when it's a driveway like that, and it's on land, privately owned land, we will give the owner a heads up that, hey, you can proceed at your own caution. Nick, I think that's what we had told you, or what Kurt had passed along. You can proceed at your own caution. We still need to have the public hearing on the rezone of it. And they chose to proceed pending the public hearing. So Fred, to answer your question, sometimes that's the way it goes. You make concessions like that to facilitate these developments and these type of things.
I have a definition of the C2 highway. Would you like me to read that from before?
C2 highway, not relevant.
This one?
No.
Okay.
That's out by the highway.
Not, right. Not just on a road.
Anybody else have questions, comments? All right. Or requesting more information on the rezone. If I remember right, rezone typically is there's been a change in the proposed use or the original use was incorrect. Well, I guess the change in the proposed uses or extending a driveway connected to a commercial use. So that would be the rationale for approving a rezone here. Were there any other comments from adjoining neighbors? Were they worried about traffic heading out up that residential street?
Avenue
Yeah.
or Second Street.
Oh, okay. The thought process is they'd be, well, I suppose they could head to Mill Street, but they'd probably be heading out on, exiting on county, the county road. Anybody care to make a motion?
I'll move we recommend approval for the city council to approve the rezoning of these two parcels to C1 to match the adjacent main parcel.
C1A?
C1A.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried 6-0-0. Thanks for your input, Fred. Now on to 5A.
Yeah, so this is tabled from last time, our last meeting in October. Just to review, Jennifer Walter and Glenn Proudfoot, they live at 450 Lancaster Boulevard. And then Leah Witchman at 455 Sequoia Lane are looking to purchase land from Driscoll Southside Properties, which their land borders. Proudfoot and Walter would acquire 16,570 square feet. Witchman would acquire 6,583 square feet. Both are for personal use. It's pretty much a review of what we were looking at, and I spoke to Matt and what Matt recommended, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. One of the best ways to do this, and another thing is these are in two separate subdivisions, correct? The two separate divisions. If this land is allowed by the owner to buy, they would both be rezoned R1. The owner is subject to home occupation limitations in the ordinance, which so that they want to put a shed on there. Mr. Proudfoot has said several times, like to put we're going to call it a shed, an accessory building on that, and he can't put it on there unless he needs a primary residence on that spot. So by making the new land R1, like his current land, he would be able to do that. If we tie the two lots together. Let's see, what else was I going to say? I spoke with Mr. Driscoll today, and he's open to, one of the reasons why this got tabled was Mr. Driscoll made a statement that he would like to see it stay industrial. And speaking to him today on the phone, he's up for whatever. I want to make it residential, great. He just wants to help these people get moving in this, getting their land going. So that was one of the reasons why it kind of got tabled from last meeting.
Yeah, I'm not that issue where person need to actually just think about it for a little while instead of make some sort of snap decision at the last meeting.
Yeah.
I honestly feel, since this is the entrance of the subdivision, that, the Witchman lot, that's small enough where it definitely needs to be rezoned and tied to the Witchman main house so that they don't get in trouble with, if they left it industrial, like we talked about last time, they try to sell or mortgage, or there's going to be problems with the secondary market because they don't want any industrial type of zoning attached to a dwelling. So definitely Witchman's needs to be rezoned and then deed restricted or tied to the main lot in Meyerhofer Fourth.
You say deed restricted so that they couldn't sell that lot off separate from the house.
Yeah. And then we did the same thing with Jimmy Loman's property up on Meyerhofer Second. Instead of requiring a replat, we did a deed restriction. But then on the Proudfoot, that's a bigger lot. It could be a standalone lot. But I just feel, unless he's planning on making that shed some sort of major commercial type of enterprise, if it's more of just a hobby, and yeah, we're creating basically one huge lot. Definitely has to be, if we allowed a standalone shed and didn't rezone it so that it stays industrial, then conceivably somebody, he could, number one, sell that lot off to somebody else. Somebody else could now turn that into some industrial type of use, which, might conflict with the residential feel as you're heading into that whole subdivision. I think to be fair to the neighbors, that should also be rezoned residential, even though it's a larger lot. It could be a standalone industrial lot if needed to be, but if the planned use is more like just a hobby and plopping a shed on, probably the same principle, rezone and deed restrict the two.
And you couldn't have that as a separate lot because you couldn't put a shed without being a principal residence.
Right,
Correct.
right. So almost have to deed restrict the two again. And I don't, that would require a public hearing, just like the rezone on the Nielsen, and neighbors would have an opportunity to come in and ask questions. But, yeah, the proposal is allowing one giant lot with a shed attached to that house. I don't know if that's highly objectionable or not, but. So it'd be a potential rezone on both.
If these were changed to residential zoning, does that affect the setbacks for the business on the other side, any activities over there?
That was going to be my question, Tom. I had a question about that.
I don't remember.
No, I don't think so. They had enough clearance from the building, because you kind of see the building there. I did look at that. There's plenty of space for there. Yeah, it would not. Yeah.
That's, what is it, I-2? Or 2?
So I checked setbacks if this was to become true, and it would fit.
Lane, isn't it? Back there around the building? Seems like it is.
Where are you looking?
I think that road
It's around Custom Iron, I think, is a fire lane.
You would think behind the big building it would be.
Yeah. Because there's no other access to it from a city street to get to the back side of the building.
Another issue, if we left that larger lot next to Proudfoot, a standalone lot I-2, then, yeah, is there another, there'd have to be a different access, and is there one on the back side? If not, then the only access would be on Lancaster, so that'd be about the first, it'd be another curb cut and access to this industrial lot that right at the entrance of this nice subdivision. I just don't feel very good about doing that.
I guess the question, how does that lot lay? Would it be even buildable if somebody wanted to put a house or something on that other lot?
It's pretty steep,
That's what I was thinking.
but yeah, you could build it. I mean, you could potentially build a house on it, but there's quite a bit of grade change.
May I speak?
Sure.
In its present condition, it's not buildable, it's a big berm and it's covered in trees. And then on the backside, it drops down about 20 feet. So you really can't build anything on that portion. So most of what we want to build would be an accessory building, would be on our property. But we need that other property, we plan on maintaining it all as woods, just the way it is, just so that we can stay within the limits of the footprint. So you can only have so much of the property developed. So that's why we need it, is so that we can build mostly on what is our property right now. And I'm also thinking that if the case comes along that we ever do sell it and someone does want to change it, then wouldn't they also have to go through all the rezoning and all the committee talks and so forth before they'd be allowed to do that? We
You
don't ever
mean
plan on
convert it
doing
back
that.
to industrial?
Yes, if it was rezoned as residential for us, and then we sold a lot in 20 years or whatever, then wouldn't anyone that buys that, if they wanted to change it to do an industrial thing, they'd have to have it rezoned and
Yeah.
again, so then it'd all come up in front of the committee again where it could be denied.
But
If you're
again,
not,
if there was a deed restriction on it, then the two lots would be tied together in a sale, like said with Witchman's too.
Yep, you'd have to sell or mortgage both of them together.
yeah, it'd be one lot.
Yeah.
One parcel.
Is that acceptable?
That's what we want, we just want it as one residential property.
And then, I don't know, what was the possible proposed size of the shed?
Well, when I read all the codes and everything, it says that the limit for that area is 1,000 square feet.
Right.
So what we're planning on an accessory building, not like a tool shed. So it's going to be 1,000 square feet, and there's going to be a section of it that's going to be used for storing the rototiller and the lawnmower and so forth, the bicycles and everything. And then the other portion is the portion that we want to turn into our own personal pottery studio, so that we can go out and throw pots. That's our hobby. So that's what our plan is now. Yeah. And then we also have, right now we've got the exercise equipment in the third bay of the garage, so we're moving that to the building, so that the treadmill and the bicycle. So, it's an accessory building, multiple use is what our plan is.
Okay.
And it won't look like a shed, it'll look just like a little house.
So what do we need to do about this?
There's actually two tax parcels there to the west, aren't there? So for approving minor subdivisions, I still don't think we're gonna run afoul of the ordinance as far as, allowing more than one split of a parcel in less than 5 years, because we're gonna tie the lots together. It's almost like a merger, but not quite, because we wouldn't necessarily be replatting. So I think we're okay on that. What do you think on that, Kurt?
Well, that's over my head. So, I'll help where I can.
The whole thing is planning on, it's going to be about a $100,000 shed. That's what it's going to be.
So it'd be Are the surveys done yet or not?
Not yet.
Okay.
Terry sent, Chris a note today.
Well, there's probably going to have to be a public hearing for both approving a minor subdivision as well as a rezone. So if the commission wants to go that route or suggests they go that route, and then you'll probably have to get the certificates of survey done before the hearing, and then we'd take a look at it, and it'd probably be approval of minor subdivisions, rezone, and
Deed restriction.
deed restrictions, all kind of discussed.
been purchased already?
No, we're waiting to see if we're going to be allowed to do what we want to do. Because if we're not, then,
Yeah, you could do like some sort of contingent purchase agreement if you want to, I don't know, or is it just a handshake with Terry?
yeah, well, we've
Whatever.
talked to Terry and I've
Sure.
been with him. We went to his lawyer and we discussed it there.
Yeah. Trying to remember what the side yard setback is in an I-2. Is it just like 20 feet or something?
Yeah,
I think it's 30.
well, side yard. I don't think,
Or maybe maybe I-2 probably doesn't have front or side. It's
I would say
just,
at the most it's 20 feet.
Yeah, I think it's, I-2 is 15.
15, oh, I2, I'm sorry, I think it's
Front is 40, 15 side, and rear yard is 25.
okay. That'd be a side, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Your rear yard. What did you say rear was, Ryan?
25. But even at that, I think it's back far enough anyway, isn't
Yeah, so
it?
there's 50 feet right there. So they got plenty of room.
Yeah.
You have to get going, I know.
No, let's just say, do we have call for public hearing then, or what do we do?
Well,
The property owner would have to bring it, right?
I mean, we've accommodated, like scheduling one and then assuming they're gonna come in with their signed applications. Otherwise, we can push it out another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that sound like half a plan, or what we're talking about is usually we have to, these things take a public hearing, just like we did for Nielsen's. And, we could schedule one for a month out. But in the meantime, you'd have to, both of you and maybe Terry would have to come into City Hall and sign an application for the various requests. Otherwise, we'd have to, I guess, cancel the public hearing if you didn't do that. Because you for sure want to rezone it to residential, right? So that's going to have to happen regardless. And it sounds like the way your planned use is, maybe it makes sense to do the same thing. So we could have a public hearing on all those issues, but if you want us to schedule one for the next meeting, we could, but it'd be sort of incumbent on you to come into City Hall and fill out the paperwork pretty soon.
I can do that. We can do that.
Kurt, what is the cost for a rezone?
350.
I'll tell you, they'll bring you the paperwork right now.
Rezones application, $350. And then would they have to do a minor subdivision too, Matt?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll leave that up to staff if you want to combine them all into one or if you charge different.
That's additional.
Yeah.
So
Just, I'd like to point, since at the last meeting, you mentioned that some of the residents may not like the accessory building to come off the side, you mentioned that. So we actually have been looking at the property and in the last, been looking at putting it behind the house and moving our garden. Because you brought that up, so we definitely considered it. Now, we've staked this out, so far, if we come off here, we would only have to remove about 4 little trees if we did it that way, if we came right off, because it'd be 30 by 30 or 33 by 33. And we could go all the way to here without disturbing this berm. But now, like I said, we're considering going right back here and doing a walkway to the back.
As long as it meets 1,000 square foot limitation. I don't know if it matters that much, but I guess if you put yourself in the shoes of the neighbors driving by, would they prefer it tucked back behind the house? I don't know.
Be nice aesthetic.
Everyone that we've talked to thinks what we're doing is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to be disruptive or critical. We're just trying to make sure it's done right.
For next time.
So should they apply for both rezone and minor subdivision? Yeah. So when
They
you,
both need to be done.
you'll see on there's a check mark at the top. You just mark both those, rezone and minor subdivision. And then you'll fill out the rest of it, which isn't hard. Let me know if you got any questions.
If you're full steam ahead on it, would you like us to schedule the public hearing, assuming that you'll get the paperwork filed soon with City Hall?
I think we should be able to do it in a month.
Now you could wait till January, if you feel better doing that. Be early January would be the second meeting.
Will the prices go up?
I don't think so.
Good question.
Well, if we schedule it December, kind of postpone it.
Yeah, I mean, when do you have to get the notice in the paper?
That's it. We're doing
14 days?
Set it this week,
This week?
so you have it.
Just didn't want you to, well, let's say they say, we need to think about this more. Then you get the hearing in the paper and it's like, oops.
I feel like it might be safer to do it January, because then you're not scrunched for time and know for sure what you want to do. I know you know what you want to do, but it'd be for sure, but it's up to you guys.
We don't want to do anything to it. Because most of what we are gonna buy goes down the hill. We're buying air.
No, I mean, if, for a public hearing, to have all your information, to have it all ready to go, it's not, what you do to your land is up to you, but I just need to know when you want to have the public hearing for the rezone. If you'd rather have it in December or wait till January to make sure you got everything with Terry set out fine.
Yeah, maybe, is there a big difference between having the hearing in December versus January? Maybe you need to take your time filling out that paperwork, deal with Terry a little bit more on some sort of purchase agreement with contingencies. Maybe we're rushing things by trying to be over accommodating for you. Maybe you just want to wait till January.
What do you? Yeah. Because I put that tomorrow.
What is the notice, 10 days?
I think it's 10, isn't it? Think you have your certificates of survey in by next meeting?
That part I'm not sure of. I know that Terry talked to the surveyor today, but I'm not sure what their schedule is.
Well, if you get it in by next Friday, Kurt, then you're still gonna have Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12 days.
Letters going out to everybody within 350 feet, which is, and then I'm just nervous that if you don't have everything ready to go, that's a lot of letters to take back. But
When I was sending it, she was like, no kidding.
very good.
Both certificates or just the one that's building?
No, because this is
They're
for
both being
They're both-
rezoned and they're
This is
both
just
being, yeah.
rezoning,
Mhm.
nothing to do with the building.
Yeah.
If you submit the applications, then you can act on it. I mean, or you can set the public hearing and then Kurt can do the mailing. Well, probably wouldn't even have to be till next Friday, right?
And what do they have
And
to
then if
have?
they decide not to do it, they're still gonna pay the money for the effort that was put in.
It's a piece of cake, but it's a survey, so it's
Basically.
a survey. So it's just the survey that's the biggest thing. You can fill that paperwork out. Do you think you can get the survey done? Or- That's the biggest question.
Yeah.
But they can let you know, or no, or we need to, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
without a survey done yet, just seems like January would be a less technical time for you, but whatever.
Will you explain to me why we need to get minor subdivision?
To split out your little piece from the bigger parcel owned by Terry.
But ours is going to be connected right to our land. Did that make,
We need to approve your triangular piece that you're buying from Terry. We need to get a survey and we need to approve it either through a minor subdivision or to replat it. Replatting is more expensive.
Because it's dividing the parcel. That's the reason. Because that existing parcel goes all the way across, like you see up there, and you'll be purchasing just that corner of it. So that's what's considered the minor subdivision change. So it's splitting that parcel, and that's what that
Yeah.
requires.
Yeah, I don't know, if it doesn't matter that much, maybe it'd make more sense to do what you need to do, and then we'll come back in December and maybe schedule the public hearing for January. Is there that big of a difference between revisiting it in December versus January, especially if we need to get the certificate of survey in? I mean, I know how busy surveyors can be.
I mean, you'd have to purchase the property. From a timeline perspective, right? Like the work that you would be doing wouldn't happen until springtime, right? So there's not a need to have it done now in December. I mean, you want to purchase the property, and so that process has to happen, but the actual moving ahead on your project wouldn't occur until springtime.
No, after January.
Yeah.
Sure, we won't-
Yeah.
Okay.
There's one complicating glitch. Whenever you split property out of a larger parcel, the county won't record deeds unless taxes are paid in full on the entire parcel. So I don't know why Terry's building is on these multiple parcels instead of one giant parcel. But if we waited until January, then Terry's gonna have to pony up proposed property taxes due in 2025 in January on both those two southerly large parcels, which, I don't know, it's got a little bit of a building in there. It's probably not cheap. Versus, that's why a lot of people will do splits and minor subdivisions at the end of the year, November and December, because taxes are already paid up. Then you don't have to come up with a bunch of extra cash to pay taxes in January. So that could be.
December then.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And then council would have the meeting right after the zoning meeting to possibly approve it, and then you'd have to get those deeds recorded by before the end of December. If you want to avoid making Terry pay a bunch of taxes in January.
No, we don't care about that.
You don't care about that?
He might.
He might, yeah.
Oh,
Right now, the only way that I can answer that is, well, I can't answer that because we don't know about the survey yet.
Right.
We need to get that information.
Well, if we scheduled a public hearing and waited to, and then let staff hear from you whether this can happen, and then if staff says, nope, it's not gonna work, then do you have, staff have authority to kick it out to January?
Mhm.
We wanna do that?
Yeah.
All right. Anybody wanna make a motion?
Okay, I'll do it. I move that we schedule a public hearing for this topic at the December 10th meeting at 5:35, contingent on the paperwork being approved. Does that work?
Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Carries 600. Thank you. I know you're probably thinking, why are we making such a big deal out of this, but we do have to comply with the ordinance. What else? Anything else, or are we pretty much done there?
He said all done.
All done, okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
That guy owns, he owns 12 acres out there. The guy who owns it. Huh? Who owns it? This Driscoll. Oh, okay.